I think you and I were saying, what are we going to do? It was a pretty sad time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were depressed.
It seems like this cycle goes around and sad times come.
Bill Gaither's wife has recently faced a life-altering diagnosis, one that no one could have ever predicted. The woman whose voice once lifted millions to their feet in worship is now fighting a battle that is testing not just her strength, but the very core of her faith. For fans who grew up listening to her angelic harmonies, what they hear now is something much deeper. An echo filled with pain, courage, and unwavering hope. Her story has quietly traveled from church pews to online communities and family gatherings, leaving people emotional and searching for answers. In this video, we'll explore Bill Gaither's relationship with his wife, the reality of her diagnosis, and how this personal struggle has deeply touched millions around the world. Bill once said that songwriting is a solitary experience born from one's own life and faith. Before the stars were scattered across the heavens or the universe took form, he believed that there was already music, God's song echoing through creation. For years, Bill and his wife were the golden couple of gospel music, admired not just for their voices, but for the love and faith that seemed to shine through every word they sang. Yet, behind that perfect harmony, a truth began to surface, something quiet but powerful that would eventually shake everything they built together. For decades, Bill Gaither and his wife stood united, not just on stage, but in the hearts of millions. Their music wasn't simply entertainment, it was ministry. Every lyric, every note was a heartfelt prayer and a reflection of their shared devotion. To watch them perform was to witness two souls moving as one, spreading messages of love, loyalty, and faith. Fans didn't just hear their songs. They believed in them because Bill and his wife embodied the very ideals they sang about. Their journey began humbly in small-town churches where Bill played his warm guitar and led worship with sincerity. He came from modest roots with no fame or fortune to lean on, just a deep belief that music inspired by faith could heal hearts. Then everything changed when he met the woman whose voice would blend so perfectly with his own. From that moment, they became inseparable, turning their partnership into something greater than music. It became a symbol of love and devotion that resonated across generations. From little church gatherings to crowded arenas, their story unfolded like a modern gospel fairy tale. They often shared anecdotes about their children, laughed over fan letters, and spoke warmly of late-night writing sessions. To the world, they were living proof that faith could not only sustain a marriage, but build a meaningful life together. Even as the music industry evolved and trends came and went, the Gaithers stayed steady, anchored by faith and purpose. They weren't just performers. They were messengers of hope, reminding people that love and belief could still thrive in an ever-changing world. Every photo, every concert poster, and every joyful interview strengthened their image as the perfect Christian couple. But behind that picture of perfection, small cracks had begun to form. Not sudden or dramatic, but quiet, easy to miss. The kind of changes people ignore because they seem too small to matter. Yet, those were the moments when everything began to shift. The smile stayed bright, the music continued, but something between them slowly began to fade. It started with subtle silences and missed gestures. A look not returned, a word left unsaid. Fans who had followed their every performance began to notice tiny differences. Bill and his wife, once inseparable, began arriving at events separately. At first, people thought it was a fling, but as it continued, questions started spreading across fan pages and forums. Why weren't they seen together anymore? Why did Bill stop mentioning her during interviews? His tone changed too. Careful, distant, as if choosing every word with deliberate caution. To longtime followers, that silence was louder than any rumor. They began comparing older videos to newer ones. In the past, Bill and his wife shared natural warmth. Their hands often met mid-song. Their eyes glimmered with connection. Their laughter was contagious. But in recent appearances, they stood apart. Just a few inches, but enough for fans to feel that something wasn't right. Bill began giving vague excuses for his wife's absence from major events. She's with family. She'd rest, or she's working on other things. His smile no longer carried its usual light. Fans noticed and their concern grew. As weeks passed, hope that this was just a temporary phase began to fade. Discussions turned to open worry. Could the couple who had sung about eternal faith and unity really be drifting apart? Then came the wave of concert cancellations, and the silence that followed spoke volumes. Events disappeared from Bill's schedule one by one. First a weekend concert in the Midwest, then a gospel retreat. Later a live radio appearance was quietly replaced with a short notice. Bill Gaither is unable to attend due to health concerns. No video message, no explanation, just those few words. Fans who had always admired his honesty were left anxious and confused. Bill had always been transparent with his followers. When he struggled with exhaustion before, he had told them. When he canceled tours to spend time with family, he shared that proudly. But now, nothing. No posts, no updates, just an eerie quiet. Social media flooded with prayers and worried messages. Some feared he was ill, others suspected emotional struggles. But there were no answers, only growing concern. As the silence stretched on, theories began to swirl. Some wondered if the couple was facing personal issues. Others thought the illness rumors might be true. Weeks passed and every unspoken word added fuel to speculation. Then one day, something surfaced online that changed everything. A shaky, grainy video. The clip was taken from a distance through a window, and at first glance, it seemed innocent. But what it showed sent shockwaves through the gospel community. In the video, Bill's wife was seen sitting closely beside a younger woman. The two laughed softly, their body language intimate, and at one point, the woman placed an arm around her shoulders in a way that seemed tender, perhaps too tender for comfort. It wasn't overtly inappropriate, but in the context of their silence, it spoke volumes. The clip spread across social media within minutes, posted first on a gossip site with a cryptic caption hinting that something had gone wrong. Fans were torn. Was it an innocent moment of comfort or something more personal? The internet dissected every frame. Some saw nothing but friendship. Others claimed the interaction looked romantic. But by that point, perception had already replaced truth. The trust fans once had in the Gaithers began to waver. This wasn't just about two people. It was about everything they stood for: faith, loyalty, and devotion. Christian forums turned into battlegrounds. Some urged forgiveness, quoting scripture. Others expressed disappointment and anger. For decades, Bill and his wife had represented the very best of gospel love stories. And now that image was falling apart. Every lyric about faithfulness suddenly carried a different meaning, every duet was replayed under a new painful light. And while the world argued online, Bill faced the reality alone. After a long evening surrounded by friends and familiar faces, he returned home searching for peace. While the found instead changed everything. He walked into a silence that was heavier than ever before. A silence filled not just with unanswered questions, but with heartbreak that words could never fully capture. Deep down, something felt terribly wrong. The moment he pulled into the driveway and noticed the living room lights still burning late into the night, his heart sank in a way he couldn't quite explain. The familiar comfort of home suddenly felt off. Keys in hand, he stepped inside, calling her name the same way he had done countless times before. The house appeared normal, same scent, same furniture, same framed photos on the wall. But beneath that stillness, something felt different. Then, from somewhere in the house, a faint sound of laughter echoed softly. It wasn't loud or joyful. It was private, hushed, and unsettlingly out of place. He told himself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe a friend had stopped by. Maybe it was nothing. But as he followed the sound, his steps grew slower, heavier, uncertain. When Heffinelli entered the room, everything stopped. Time froze in that painful suspended silence. She was sitting in a chair, her hair loose around her shoulders, her face pale and distant. Beside her sat the younger woman from the video, the same woman who had caused weeks of rumors and heartache. She was sitting too close, her hand resting softly on his wife's knee. Both looked up, startled, silent, caught in a moment that shattered everything familiar. In that instant, all the tours, all the songs, all the promises they had made seemed to dissolve into the air. None of it mattered anymore. Bill stood motionless, his chest tight, his breath shallow, and managed to ask only one question, one that carried all the pain in the world. How long? It wasn't shouted or angry. It was quiet, trembling, and full of heartbreak. His wife opened her mouth as if to speak, but no sound came. Her silence was an answer in itself, one that spoke louder than any confession ever could. Without another word, Bill turned and walked out. He didn't look back. The sound of the door closing behind him felt like the final note of a song he wished had never been written. Outside, the cold night air hit him like a wall. He got into his car, started the engine, and began to drive with no direction in mind. He didn't know where he was going, only that he couldn't stay there. Not that night. By the next morning, his private heartbreak had become public tragedy. The blurry video that had once stirred quiet curiosity now stood as undeniable confirmation. Headlines spread everywhere. Gospel star confronts personal betrayal. Fans who had been praying for his recovery suddenly realized they had been praying for the wrong thing. The wound wasn't physical, it was emotional, spiritual, something deeper than anyone could see. It tore apart not only a marriage but an entire movement built on faith, love, and trust. The fallout didn't stop at his doorstep. It rippled through the entire gospel community. Churches went silent, promoters backed away. Fans divided into two sides. What once brought believers together in unity now split them apart in judgment. Bill Gaither, once a cornerstone of Christian music and faith, now stood at the center of a storm that no one fully understood. Yet through all the noise, he and his wife chose silence, and that silence spoke volumes. Soon, the controversy spread across every corner of the faith world. Some loyal fans held on to their devotion, insisting that one mistake, one moment could not erase decades of inspiration and ministry. They reminded others of the songs that had helped them through grief, divorce, and loss. Taught him, this wasn't about a scandal. It was about grace. They refused to let one heartbreak erase a lifetime of hope. But others felt deeply betrayed. They had given their trust, their money, and their faith to the man whose music had guided their prayers. Now they wanted answers, and silence wasn't enough. Behind the scenes, things worsened. Event sponsors began to back out, contracts were quietly shelved. Tours were canceled with no explanation. Churches that had once celebrated the gay brand started keeping their distance, afraid of the headlines. "We support the music, not the drama," one organizer said. But the line between faith and fame had already blurred. As the media jumped in, Christian outlets began asking difficult questions. Can someone preach loyalty if their life doesn't reflect it? Can a public ministry survive a private collapse? Pastors began addressing the issue in sermons. Youth groups questioned whether their idols were genuine. Blogs and podcasts analyzed every angle of the story, the silence, the footage, the fallout. Some voices called for grace, others demanded accountability. Debates over morality, forgiveness, and leadership erupted. Many argued that grace should come first, while others insisted that repentance had to be public. And though some reminded everyone that spiritual leaders are still human, that truth didn't soften the heartbreak. Then, after weeks off kios, Bill finally broke his silence.